Hello from Vienna. In the back you see the wonderful house of Sri Mataji, which is our national center. And all of us in Austria, we are very, very glad that this India tour finally is taking place. You must know that in the early days we had so many times with Sri Mataji in India. She was inviting us. We traveled through India for 1 month together, having a puja every second and third day with Sri Mataji. It was fantastic. We got so much cleared out. We felt so good. So India has become our home country. It's definitely where our spiritual comfort lies, to be in India. And we have so many stories, we had learned so many things in India. For example, when I came to India for the first time, I was very surrendered. I was so surrendered that I drank the water from every pipe, every water pipe in every petrol station for the buses. And I was protected because I did not die. I survived. But of course I had a very kind of fluent experience through my India tour, but after I came back, I was so cleared out. All my channels were completely clear. I was hollow inside. I felt like a cool dome inside. Whenever I sat down for meditation, I felt immediately cool, not only on the hands, not only on the head, but everything inside. Fantastic. It was for more than 1 month that I felt I was in that state of bliss. And this is what India did to me. And whenever I arrive in India, I'll put down my hands first on the Mother Earth, because this is a very sacred moment. And I hope that many of us will have this sacred moment together. And we should always remember, Sri Mataji gave us the power to raise the Kundalini of other people. She gave us the power to give, to make others into prophets. But one thing is for sure, when we go to India, we will always be at the humble receiving end, because Mother India will ultimately work on us. So I hope to see many of you in India.
To talk about the India tours is to remember some of the most beautiful experience with Sri Mataji. Arriving to India was like coming back home, feeling this power of the earth and this desire to touch the earth, and this reconnecting with our mother. That's how I felt. I felt at home. It was a beautiful experience. The India tours may have not been full of comfort for the physical body, but it was so full of comfort and love for the soul, for the heart. We were so lucky that we were traveling and Sri Mataji was traveling with us, and we would see her every second day. We had pujas every second day with her, and I felt as it was my first India tour, and I was going to get married that year, and Sri Mataji had engaged me 6 months before. I could feel how, like my mother, she took care of me permanently. She was always asking me, how is everything going? Are you happy? Are you happy? It was always a question that repeated in many occasions, and it gave me such a confidence in myself and such a feeling of security to know that Adi Shakti was looking after me, that she was my mother, she was taking care of me, and she was guiding me into a beautiful life. This India tour also for us was something like, for me, something that I could never have achieved, given at that time the financial situation in my country. Going to India, for me, it was like going to the moon. So when after Sri Mataji's visit to Colombia in '89, we received a call that telling us that she was inviting 5 Sahaja yogis from South America to the tour. And you can imagine the joy we had. Seeing her in India, being with her in India for 1 month, this was something really incredible. From the things that impressed me the most in India, apart of course being with Sri Mataji, was to see this beauty and the innocence in the children's eyes. These eyes shining, and these smiles, and also the generosity of the yogis. It was something that really touched my heart, how we were taken care, how they were looking after us. Everything was taken care. If you got up at 3:30 in the morning, you could see the ladies, they were boiling the water for the yogis to take their bath later on. One of the memories I have from Ganapati Pule 89 was when after the puja, Sri Mataji told the yogis to offer the garlands that were offered to her, to offer them to the sea. And she came that morning and she sat on a rock with her feet on the water, in the sea. And the garlands were offered to the sea, and the sea will bring back the garlands to her feet. And this happened many times, and it was amazing to see how the elements, how the water, how the sea had this awe and this respect for Sri Mataji, and would not accept those garlands, but would bring them back to her.
You know, I travel a lot for work. I've been seen to many countries, but India is the one place that has attracted me again and again. So what's the difference between India and the many other places we can visit? And the key word is really purity. So India has a purity in the land and in the people, from which we as coming from Europe can learn a lot from. You know, the purity in the land is reflected in the Ganges, in the Himalayas, but also in your Swayambhus, like such as you have the Ashtavinayaka in Maharashtra, or the Saptashringi. And those are places which we go to imbibe the special qualities of those places. And we find when we go to India, we come away very much changed. And many of those experiences have been actually life-changing. And they've always been a step forward in bringing out the positive in ourselves. But similarly, also the people of India, I find when we interact with the people in India, they have qualities that bring the best out in ourselves. And the core of that purity is really the brother-sister relationship. So it's a relationship which we're lacking in the West, and which we can only understand by going to India and seeing that. For example, here the relationship between men and women in the West is very undefined. It's very unclear, and it's very insecure. You don't know where you stand. When I was visiting Saudi Arabia, they solved that issue by hiding the women, and there is no relationship. So you either have a man or you have a sort of a black lump, which is quite undefined. But in India you have a beautifully clear defined relationship. What is a brother, what is a sister? And you can relate to a sister in a way where there's no hidden thoughts. There's just the beauty and the security of that relationship with the clear maryadas, with the clear borders. So that's those things that make India very special, where we can learn from the country. It's true when we go to India, we see the best of India, because that's what we can learn from. We have good things in the West as well, and I'm sure every country can learn from each other. What I see is, regrettably, the Indians often pick the worst from the West and copy that. So when we go to India now, as opposed to 30 years ago, a lot of things that I see there are things which we don't like to see here, and now we see them there. Suddenly you copy our fashion, you copy our music, you copy a lot of our culture. So that's not the best things you can copy. You can find other things to copy from the West. And you may be losing the things that you do have, which we actually appreciate highly. And I'd love if I come back to India again to see the beauty again.
Hello, I am Anant Kuna. I'm 9 years old and I am in the Vienna Boys Choir. I like India really much because the food is really nice there and the sweets are also very nice there. And other stuff, I also like other stuff. But what I like the most is that you're not really bored there, because if you are, then children come and they play with you.
As you see, I'm Indian. I came here 20 years back and I married to Hans 21 years back. And the first time I met him, I saw him, he's meditating very, very long time. Then I asked him, why are you meditating so long? Here, if you sit in 10 minutes, you can feel your Kundalini. Then he explained that once you come to West, you will understand that. So when I came first time to Austria, I felt very nice and cool, but after 7 days I started feeling that it's getting heavy. It takes time to reach my final destination, that my sasrara I can feel. And after that time I started meditating longer, and I tried to find my inner peace and my sasrara, and it took time. So for you all Western yogis and for all my Indians brothers and sisters, it's a request that when we go to India, we clear our chakras and we reach that state. It's my favorite place in Vienna, and I live very close to River Danube. And I come from Calcutta, and the holy river Ganges flows through Calcutta. And Srimataji herself traveled through through this river on boat. And when I came to Vienna, my husband told me Srimataji also traveled on Danube river. It's called Donau in German, through this through boat. Yeah, so it makes me happy that I can still live next to a holy river. Thank you.
I was several times in India, and at the moment I'm in the house of Srimataji working on the electricity. And I had a great time in India, because my first time in India was amazing. I had the deep connection to Srimataji. This is the land of spirituality in India. It's the land of our mother, and a lot of things which I was carrying along with myself, I got rid of it. I was completely changed. I was married in India the first time I went to India. My children were in the Ramshala at the school, and if you never had been there, you should not miss this opportunity to go deeper in yourself, to realize who you are and what powers you have within yourself. Of course, Srimataji was there all the time when we were on the tour with her, and we had pujas with her and public programs with her, and I never felt my Kundalini that much strong before, and it was a completely change. And now I can feel it stronger from that time, from the first time when I was in India.
The reason why I went to India was because the years before I saw many of the yogis coming back from India, and they were shining. Yeah, they were happy, relaxed. The tension that they went with to India seemed to have disappeared, and yeah, everyone looked so much happier, you know, and more relaxed. And so my first year in India was a big experience for me, because I really found myself, the depth inside myself, yeah, to recognize who I really was, and how strong really the collective is, and also how the collective manifests together, how everything just spontaneously always worked out. The joy, the happiness, the bumpy rides in the buses, you know, but it was all collective, and this collectivity was so strong that you didn't feel you were alone. You know, the presence, also the silence in India, you could, in the morning meditation, really feel the depth of silence in the meditation. And yeah, the people, you know, it was completely different. You saw that India really is a spiritual land. The spirituality in India is so strong. The yogis just completely changed. The personalities changed in India. There was no tension, absolutely nothing to stop you from not finding yourself or your spirit. Yeah, and this was actually my biggest joy, was being in India and experiencing this love. And at the airport coming back, my biggest desire was just to jump on the plane and go back. Yeah.
My first India tour, or my first experience in India was around 29 years ago. And I came in contact with the Indian culture, and it was so inspiring for me, especially Ayurveda. It was very attractive to me because also of the old knowledge, the ancient knowledge about food and about nutrition. I am actually a chef from my profession, and so I was so impressed by this knowledge, which is a healing system, which is healing through the food actually. So every mother, I got the impression that every mother or every housewife in India knows about how to treat her children just with herbs and with this ancient knowledge actually. They know what to do, what to give them to drink when they have a cold or when they have wounds. They put curcuma on the wound, or they give a decoction of ginger and ajwain for colds, or what they have to do when they have tummy pain or something like this. So it's always very present there, Ayurveda. It's like in their genes actually. And I brought this knowledge to my country and to my family, and I'm treating them also with this kitchen pharmacy about which I know about Ayurveda, and with herbs, and I hope that this knowledge will establish in our society. It's so important that we keep this this ancient wise suggestions for how we should live, how we should eat, how we should behave, that we should keep it in our society and keep it alive.
Jai Shri Mataji, it's a great pleasure for me to send my best greetings and gratefulness to the Sahaj Yoga Sangam of India. And I would like to highlight my gratefulness in regard to the Indian tours, which was really one of the greatest change, not only the self-realization, but the Indian tour itself, because we had the blessing to really imbibe the aspect of the Ganesha Tattvas. By Mother's grace, we visited, of course, Ganapati Puri and many other places and holy places. And the enlightenment of this pure principle was so much important for us in Austria. And that's why I really, from the bottom of my heart, I advise all Sahaj Yogis in the world to take the opportunity in their ongoing India tour and otherwise to go there to absorb the vibrations of this country and of the great heritage of the Ganesha Tattva. And here in the background you see the castle of Austria, which was the castle of the Habsburg dynasty, which were monarchs, a monarchy, and they ruled about 700 years in the whole Europe, a big part of Europe, so-called Holy Empire. But indeed, according to Shri Mataji, there was one outstanding queen, which was a Raja Lakshmi. She was a very enlightened queen, a realized soul, and Shri Mataji pointed out when she visited Austria that the vibrations of this outstanding Raja Lakshmi are still here and supporting the country. And what we learned by Mother's grace was that we are called Austria, means Astra, but one of the biggest Astra we have indeed is the motherhood, which was so much uplifted by this queen, Maria Theresia, as the mother principle is considered one of the highest principles, especially in the spiritual world of Sahaj Yoga transformation. And we know, quoted by Shri Mataji herself, that the mother have to take care for the preservation not only of their own children, but of the whole country, the whole race, and the whole nation. And particularly, Shri Mataji mentioned, where the mothers fail, the whole nation will fail. And Mother India is the mother aspect, the Kundalini itself. We had a Kundalini Puja in Austria, and I think one of the first puja was the puja to Sri Durga. And we are blessed. Austria is called as the country of the mountains, and Shaila Putri, the name of Sri Durga, is one of her aspects. So there is a lot of links, of course, in the divine aspects of the chakras.
The first time I saw Indian dance was in India at Sri Mataji's birthday puja in 1998, and I was just really impressed by the dance. They invited a group of Indian dancers, and I don't remember which kind of dance it was, but there was one Western girl among this group of Indian girls. And it really impressed me how she moved and how she expressed her dance. And later I went to Kabela and I saw some yoginis dancing in Kabela, Kuchipudi. And when I saw them, I knew this is what I want to learn. It really completely touched me, it went right into my heart, and I loved the rhythm, especially the very fast movements. For me, it had a lot of vibrations. I still love it. It's so aesthetic, it's gracious, it's pure, it's beautiful. For me, it's a way to express my love for God, to tell God's stories in my dance. And for me, it's my way to spread vibrations.
I'm a musician from Vienna. I grew up with music, especially with the music of Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart, and I grew up with Sahaja Yoga. Normally when you are into music or art, you look at the childhood of an artist or a composer, and then you try to understand him. But Sri Mataji told us that all the Western artists and composers, I mean the really great ones, they are incarnations of Indian sages or Indian incarnations. For instance, Mozart is the incarnation of sage Narada, who is always with Sri Vishnu and singing and playing the veena. Or William Blake is the incarnation of Sri Bhairava. So normally you might look at the childhood of a composer or an artist, or you might visit, for instance, England or Austria or Italy to know more about them. But through Sri Mataji's teachings, we know that the essence of all these geniuses of the West lies in India and in the former incarnations of these artists and composers. So to understand the essence of Mozart or William Blake or Michelangelo or Leonardo da Vinci, you need to go to India. And I think the key, the reason, the secret key is that India is the Kundalini of the world. And Sahaja Yoga is about raising the Kundalini, awakening the Kundalini, getting enlightenment through the Kundalini. So by going to India, you really have the full experience of feeling the Kundalini and having the connection of spirituality to everything you do. So the connection of music and spirituality, and the music and its effect on the Kundalini is much stronger in India, and I can recommend to everybody to have this experience and go.
I was in Vaitarna Academy, and after 2 or 3 weeks, I remember I was standing alone in my room, and suddenly there was such a big amount of divine love coming into me from all the sides, and it was getting stronger and stronger, and it was really too much for me. So I felt that I couldn't take it anymore, and I said, Shri Mataji, please stop. And this moment, it stopped. The love stopped coming, and I was kind of regretting it. But I also remember that Shri Mataji said she has so much love to give to us, but we are not ready to take it. So obviously I wasn't ready to take it this time. Then 2 weeks later, I got a rush on my body, and my whole body was aching. So I decided to go to Vashi hospital, and there they were scared when they saw me because it really looked disgusting. So they sent me to another hospital, and in this other hospital the doctors found out that I was bitten by poisonous spiders, which was really dangerous, and they couldn't help me at all. So they sent me back to Vashi hospital, and there I started surrendering, because I really felt that I'm the spirit, I live eternally anyway, so I didn't care anymore what happens to my body. So I bowed down to Shri Mataji's altar, and I said, Shri Mataji, this is your body, whatever you consider the best should happen, and I'm ready for everything. I'm also ready to die if you want me to die. So I really surrendered. And I was kind of sure that I'm gonna die because nobody could help me. So I went back to my room and I went to sleep. And the next morning I woke up, and again this big amount of divine love was coming into me. And this time I didn't stop it. I just really enjoyed it. And I looked onto my skin and the rush was gone completely. And also when I got up, I felt that, well, nothing is paining anymore. So I was really overwhelmed by this love. And I went to the doctors there in Vashi, and they also couldn't believe it. They said, it's a miracle. Yeah, that's the story.
Hi, my name is Reinhard. I'm since 30 years in Sahaj Yoga, looking at old photo albums from India and looking at photos from 1996, being on tour with Theatre of Eternal Values in India, from Delhi to Bombay, and ending in Ganapatipule, which was one of my most incredible experiences in Sahaj and probably all of my life. Touring with yogis and touring in India is an incredible experience, because you have both. You have a real workout. That means you're working on your conditionings. Yeah, you're clashing with your egos 1 hour, and the next hour there's pure bliss. And there were so many things happening, so many obstacles. And although there were so many obstacles, there was always this bliss and joy and this knowledge that you're working out something that is probably of big importance. The whole stage design, the whole stage we built the days before was burning down, or just has burned down. And after he recovered, and we recovered from the shock and saying, well, we have no stage, we can't play. We said, no, we have to play, and we will play. And during a day, and with the help of the yogis there, we built a stage out of bamboo sticks with beautiful yellow saris, which made the walls, and which looked in the end like a perfect, beautiful tapestry in an ancient room. We were playing The Imaginary Invalid by Molière. I remember that my kids, who I have on these photos here as well, there I am, after performance. You see maybe remnants of the makeup, and my son Niranjan and Kamala, my daughter, who just came from school in Dharamsala, still remember this. I was playing Dr. Diaphorus, which is a crazy old doctor, and the performance was partly very comical and very clownesque, and the movement, my major movement, was moving my hand like that. You know, being this old guy, with a big ego, and my hand was moving like that all the time. And my children, who were very small at that time, still remember that. From all the performance, it's just this movement that was staying. Yeah, there's just some more photos. Again, me after the performance. There's Martin Moore, the poor guy who did, I don't know, 2 stage designs in India, because the one we shipped to India didn't come there. So we had to build one in Vashi, and then he had to build another one after this one has burned down. And there you see already the yellow saris that made our stage design in Ganapatipula. Yes, all in all, I really wish again to be able to go there. I haven't been there for many years. India has changed probably, but the depth you reach there, or the depth you have in a meditation, is tremendous.
The question why I love India, and especially the Indians, is easily answered. I was 2005 in Vashi, in Belabuan Hills and Research Center, and it was in August, it was monsoon time, and the taxi driver wanted to take me back to the airport, but it wasn't possible to reach the airport because of the streets. They were overflowed with water. And so he decided to take me into his flat. Of course, I was a little bit afraid, but what should I do? But I hadn't no fear anymore when I saw his nice, sweet family. His wife was very finely dressed in sari like a queen, and the 2 daughters were very sweet and nicely, and also the son, he was really a good boy. You could feel it. And grandpa, he came from Nepal, was so joyful to see me, and I by myself felt like a queen. And they cooked for me, and they served meals and so on. And I had a deep impression of social life in family. The vibrations were full of love and joy, and I felt very secure and joyful in this family. And the taxi driver took me back to the airport. He arranged everything. It lasted just 1 day to get a new ticket and so on. It was really tremendous what he did for me. When you reach the airport, except especially Delhi or Mumbai, you can feel strong vibrations. So leave the aeroplane, and vibrations are around you. And this is the point. I will travel to India again and again and again.
I'm so happy that I have got the blessings of Srimati Ji, that I came to Austria to get the new things, to get the new values, and to know the culture of Austria and the Western culture in Europe. Yeah. Especially the Yoga Bhumi of India, we have learned so many basic values of purity, innocence, and simplicity. And we have to learn from the Western culture, from the Western Sahaj culture, the values of perfection in that sense, but full devotion, perfection with full devotion from Western Sahaj yogis. And these blessings of Sahaj and Srimati's blessings, we have to use it for our spiritual development. And we should remember now on this upcoming event of Srimati's birthday, 90th birthday in Delhi, in India, that we are again here to be remembered the blessings of Srimati Ji, who has given us. We have to thank her, we have to remember her, we have to remember her vision to be realized, and let us do this with complete devotion to Srimati Ji and enjoy our life in Sahaj.
When I was about 10 years old, a lot of children went to Dharamshala school, and we all came to India, and it was a very, very new experience for me, being in a different country, and new smells, new sights, and it was a great few years that I spent there in the school, up in the Himalayas with the big, mighty and ancient mountains there every day to see. I missed that the most, I guess, and lots of friends that we made there have been friends since then and lifelong. So apart from my best friend who is Indian, and my husband who is Indian, and a big in-law family in India, and my children. Also, apart from that, so the time I spent in India really made me love that country. And one time we traveled to Alibag, and it was a small village, and they had one new supermarket opened up. And outside the supermarket in the front, there was lots and lots of chappals, pairs of shoes, because they have such a respect for entering inside the house. You have to take the shoes off. So it was, just a normal store, supermarket store. But all the people there had so much respect that they left the shoes outside and then take the trolley and go shopping. It was an amazing experience.
And what I really like about India is where I come from. That's a place in North India called Dehradun, which is right next to the Himalayas. And I really miss that place because of the jungle and the beautiful nature and everything. And I'll try and make it a point that I'll take my kids back to where I come from and show them around where I grew up. And it's a really beautiful place. I joined Sahaj Yoga when I was 12 years old. And I must say, living in India and living in Austria, it's difference. Whenever you go to India, you feel you feel more connected to yourself somehow. Probably because you just come out of your working life and just take time for yourself, and then go on a holiday, on a vacation, maybe on the India tour, and then you meditate collectively, and you feel the spirit much stronger there. And this is something I really miss about India, the deep meditations. And I'm also, along with my kids, I also meditate with them and play songs with them, because they probably can't sit that long. So, so I'll try to teach meditation to my children over music, and I play guitar, and I sing together with the kids. What I really like about India is, of course, the food, which is quite important, and also family values. It's a food is an integral part, because that's the time when the families get together and they sit down with each other. Because we come from a bigger family. I've many aunties and uncles, probably don't even know all of the names, so it's quite funny. So I like my kids to know how is it to live in a big family. And I had this same experience here in Austria because of my Sahaj family, and I feel very much at home here.
Indian classical music, Sahaj Yoga music has, also Western classical music has great power of emitting vibrations, and one can really express their depth through music and devotion to Shri Mataji, to God. Pranamya shirasa devam gauri putram vinayakam bhaktavasam smare nityam ayushkamartha siddhaye prathamam vakratundam cha Ekadantam dvitiyakam tritiyam Krishna pingaksham gajavaktram chaturthakam. After living so many years in Sahaj Yoga and meeting so many yogis from different countries, I realize how great is Shri Mataji's work that she has done not only in India, outside India, and how many seekers she has transformed in very good people. India is my home, and this is the place where so many saints were born. Go to India and experience the state of meditation one can reach. Thank you. Jai Shri Mataji.
The first thing I want to tell you about my experience with India tour is that it felt like paradise to me. I felt taken care of in every aspect. I didn't have to worry about my physical needs. I didn't have to worry about the future or the past. I felt like in meditation all the time. Also because we were really taken care of so well by the Indian brothers and sisters. And also I felt the presence of Shri Mataji so strongly. As I said, I've been on an India tour once, but this feeling, this feeling of paradise, I was able to take that with me, and every time I meditate now, I have this memory in me, and I can recall that feeling. So every time I meditate, I feel like in India again.
Well, as a musician, the Indian culture, of course, has a lot of very special aspects to us. Number one, what is very intriguing to us who are associated with Western classical music is the individuality of the musicians in many aspects. And the aspect that struck me most over the years was the emphasis they put on every single note of a rag, of the melody, of each note of the scale. So the combination of the attention on the details, but never losing the whole picture, never losing the whole raga, which might last an hour or longer, is something that is always happening with the masters of Indian classical music, and that's something we can learn a lot in the Western classical music. And I think the reason for this, why they can master this, is because they play with the music like a child. They are able to be very centered, very focused, very much in the presence of the time when they play the music. Because a lot of the aspects of Indian classical music has to do with improvisation.
the combination of that individual attention with this long-range musical format is something very, very special. And I had the pleasure of working with many of the masters of Indian classical music, and I had really a chance to learn enormous amounts of things from them for our Western classical music making. For example, there's this famous Indian theater piece from Kalidasa, Shakuntala. I'm sure everybody knows about this. And then I learned that Goethe wrote a poem about it. And what was even more astonishing to me, about 2-3 years ago, I realized that Franz Schubert, one of the probably most typical Austrian composers, he even was a member of the Vienna Boys Choir, that he started to write an opera about Shakuntala. He didn't finish it, we only have some arias and some other aspects, but the fact that he was so intrigued by the story to even use it as an opera background was very surprising to me. What I think as a musician also is important to learn is whatever we do, whatever we try to do the best, to do a good performance, we have to be able to just let it happen. And this is something we can learn from our Indian friends, but just, yeah, let it be.
I had an amazing experience in India in Alibag, 1988. It was the last Puja of India tour, and Sri Mataji was still sitting on the stage with the coconut trees behind her. And the silent sounds after a puja, when everyone's so satisfied. The Austrians, we had to go back to Vienna. We had to go to the airport before Mother had left. And this was very difficult. I remember standing by the buses, watching Mother, and then one of those magical thoughts came into my head, the ones that only Mother can put there. And it became a prayer, and that prayer was, "Oh Mother, please, let me take all these wonderful vibrations with me back to Austria to share with everyone." Into my hands came waves and waves of vibrations. It was a moment of complete gratitude and joy and an honor that Mother had bestowed all these vibrations into my hands. When we arrived in Vienna at the airport and walked out into the area where everyone meets you, all of a sudden out of my hands, all these waves of vibration which Mother had put there, they just went into the whole atmosphere of Vienna. We really don't know sometimes, we forget who we are and why we've come on this earth.
I spent some time in ISPS. It was an absolutely amazing time due to the many brothers and sisters I had and we all had there. Whenever you go to India, you could feel the level of the awareness for spirituality everywhere actually. So you arrive in India, you arrive at the airport, you get your luggage, you're really tired, and you get into the rickshaw or some taxi, and every moment and every time you meet someone, you can immediately talk about spirituality. I mean, it's possible everywhere to give realization. Back then, 20 years ago, I mean, unthinkable in the West, unthinkable in Austria. And when you talk to someone about yoga, about spirituality, about the spirit, etc., unthinkable. And there, I remember, we were in a sari shop, for example, and we had Mother's Pendant outside of the kurta. And the shopkeeper, he was like, who is this? And immediately, you know, you could talk, this is Srimaji Nirmala Devi, she's our guru, and you started giving realization, and that was 20 years ago. So I think the most amazing thing about India is the general level of spiritual awareness everywhere. The whole country is just a spiritual country. So I really hope that when the kids are a little older, I will be able to take them to that wonderful country, to India, and show them the beautiful heritage of spirituality.
There was the first Indian tour, and I went on this Indian tour, and I was really overwhelmed how these people in India lived. I saw many families which were sitting together in the evening, making a little fire, and they were with their whole family sitting and meditating or praying, I thought, and this was true. And I heard at 4 o'clock how the people prayed in the nature, and I felt really at home when I came to India. India is this Indian journey had such a protecting and such a curing journey for me, and I loved these Indian people. I loved them really much, and I do it, of course. This spiritual people made in me the idea that I'm religious. I can feel a difference now in such yoga, and I can feel a difference in my life before. And my life before was also a good life, yes, but now I have a life which answers my question for religion. And everyone has this religion in them, and we people live to say thank you God for the beautiful nature, thank you for the beautiful people we can live with. So I think I said enough.
Mataji said, it is good for us, for our spiritual evolution, to go to India. Now, my first Indian tour was 92. And I remember it was very interesting the first time when I saw the people in India. One family with 2 little children was sitting on the street, and they were very poor, but they were very happy. The ears were very clean. I never saw in my life this situation. This was the first thing. The second thing was a young man stand before us, and he got the self-realization. He was very happy, but in the same moment, a lot of people are coming and also want to have the self-realization. And now we're standing, I think, 3 hours and give self-realization. Every man and every woman want to have it. And after the 3 hours, we were not tired. We were very happy, and happy we go to the camp. And when I come back to Austria, I could more see my ego, all the things was not so good for the spiritual evolution, and this is a a very important journey to India to grow in Sahaja Yoga, to grow in spiritual life.
In the year 2012, I think, I had a dream, and it was a dream about Sri Mataji, and she directly told me to do a version of the Mahabharata, a theatre version, to create a theatre version of the Mahabharata, and she also told me the main ideas. And it was 4 o'clock in the morning, and I stood up and wrote the main ideas. I'm playing that now since 4 years, so it's a male and a female actor, and both of us are playing 13 roles in total, and it is, I think it's funny, because first of all we also want to, because it's for Europeans, they don't know Mahabharata, most of them, so first of all we want to open their hearts through laughter. And actually there are some funny things also in the Mahabharata, and then to promote and to tell the basic spiritual story. For me, Mahabharata is so much connected to the essence of every culture of the world, and you find elements of Mahabharata in the mythologies and the fairy tales and the stories of other cultures as well. In our play, I play Karna, the hidden brother of the Pandavas, if you know the story. So it's you have to see it so you understand how we are playing different roles and how it works out. And this is also a man, a figure, a person which is very touching and very modern for me, because his conflict is between being loyal and being with the truth. And finally he decides to be loyal. So he's loyal to his friend who is evil, to Duryodhana, and although he knows that he's evil at the end, and decides not to go with the truth. And it's a very touching conflict, and I think it's very, very, very modern. We have this one story where the mother of the Pandavas tells them that they have, so Arjuna won his wife, Draupadi, and he comes home to his mother, and before even knowing, he says, I brought something, and he's very happy, and before knowing what it is, his mother says, you have to share it with your brothers. And so they all married Draupadi, because she told them, and they say the word of our mother is our law. So we just do what she says, even if she didn't really know what she meant. So of course this marriage has many other meanings, because the Pandavas and Draupadi, they stand for principles in our system and in the world. And yeah, how did we play Krishna? We have masks on stage, and we beautiful masks which were made by a very, very creative and talented Sahaja Yogini. And always when we take this mask and put it on, either my colleague or I, we are Krishna, because Krishna can be anybody, anywhere and everything. And we show that whatever was the essence of what God says in different masks are the same in every religion, in every culture. That's what we also show in this play, because it is inside Mahabharata. And concerning the battle, you might want to know how we do that. We have written a rap, so it's musical. So we show the battle as a rap battle. And so for me, going to India is interesting because of this deep touch which I had when I saw this old television series of Mahabharata.
When I first arrived in India, of course, this was the most impressive tour because everything was new to us. And on the other hand, we didn't sleep too much. Actually, we got quite sleep deprived because everything was so exciting, was so beautiful. And then we went down to Ganapatipule. And in Ganapatipule, we had 2-3 nights, full-on music, concerts, everything fantastic, exciting. And then we were so tired. And then after 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning, when we just wanted to go to sleep, there was supposed to be the Mahaganesha Puja on the next day. And then Shrimadaji told us, all those who were completely tired, she said, you know, if I'd be you, I would not sleep at all this night. And then she said, and whatever you ask me in this night, I will grant it to you. So of course, no sleeping. We went down to the beach and meditated. We were 3 people. There was Gregoire, there was somebody else from Canada, and myself. And we tried to meditate. Of course, it was like falling from one side asleep to the other side asleep. And all of a sudden, in the morning, there was a bit of a meditation being guided. And at that time, you have to imagine in Austria, we had about 10 yogis, 15 yogis. That was about the maximum numbers of yogis that I ever had seen before. And then Gregor said, now let's get up and do a foot soak. And when I got up and turned around, I saw 1,500 yogis all seated there. We hadn't noticed that all of them had arrived. It was such a fantastic moment. It was such a moment of collectivity, of unity. And well, now we are going to India, and I'm sure now we will, when we get up and turn around, we'll see 100,000, 150,000 maybe.
My first India tour was in 1984, so it was one of the first India tours, and so when I came there, it was just a completely new world for me. Shrimadaji, I knew that it's supposed to be good for me, but I had no idea what would expect me there. We just went with buses through Maharashtra, an amazingly deep part of India where most of the ancient saints were born and walked there. We saw Sri Rama was there, and Sri Sita, and places. We went up to Sapta Shringi. We went to basically most of the Swayambhus there with amazing vibrations. And so we just had basically hardly anything with us in the luggage. And we had cotton saris which Shrimadaji chose for us personally. These old tours, there were really many, like 200 people on the tour from all over the world. And what I really liked is to get all these different kinds of lifestyle that people have, for example, from Australia or America, which is so completely different from the European way of looking at things. For me, it was like so much more open and self-confident, and somehow it really helped me a lot to change my views on different things in life. This is what you learn on India tours, just to be without what I said at the beginning, without planning and having control over things. So things just happen in India, and you just learn to go into this flow of being and enjoying and making decisions just in the moment and not to plan them. And I think India is really an amazing place to get rid of one's ego, and hard to describe. You just have to go there, guys. So go to India tour as soon as possible. Bye-bye.
Vande Mataram, Vande Mataram, Sujalam, Sufalam, Malayaj Shitalam, Sasya Shama